if we want to heal the marriage, what ought we to do?
Brandon, good to be with you this morning, man.
Hey, it's always good to be with you. We were talking to our guest today, preparing for the show, and she mentioned my hair. We have like our topics, right?
Yeah,
And I just wanted to shift from my hair and talk about your teeth again.
Well, that's one of the topics too. So we talk about your hair, my teeth, and cousin Biggs. Those are like the three things that get the most run here.
Yeah, we need another one.
With we tell the occasional childhood story that actually a lot of our audience likes to hear, because I guess our childhood probably wasn't as normal as we thought it was.
Yeah, we talk about the food that we ate. Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
I just got the one, Brandon, like for everyone who's on that. I'm not on it at all, but you've been sending out those like Sora, those AI things where you like type in, put this character here and this character here and make a video of this. And you just did one that was supposed to be a reenactment of Dad making tomato gravy.
We've talked about tomato gravy before.
Yeah, but the AI was actually pretty accurate.
Yeah, I wish you would have read the thing, because it said we're all eating tomato gravy and we're all like dry heaving and gagging, except for our brother Tyler, who takes a bite and says, "Oh, Dad, that's so good." Just kissing up.
Just hey, always trying to perform.
Yes.
Always.
That's so yummy.
that was horrible. I'll come out now. I'm living a life of integrity. That was horrible.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes, it was. That was horrible. See, we hit all the topics right there.
There we go.
Did it.
All right. Well, we're going to jump over. We got another review. We love you guys' reviews. We appreciate them. This one was put on the Apple podcast. It says, "A bold pod. I love the live call-ins and how raw and real so many conversations are. Hearing how others are applying their own healing and recovery with live feedback and help from two dudes who are focused on getting to the root of things has been really helpful in my personal life. I don't agree 100% with everything they say, but the format gets me thinking in new ways that have come to be very insightful and helpful. Thanks for all the work you do." We love that. We love that you don't agree with us on everything too, and that you're still here finding value. That's part of how we learn and grow together. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to come and leave us that review. We appreciate
Tyler,
it.
you know what I just realized? Like, this episode, quite possibly, or the last episode, is 500. Like, we hit 500 episodes.
We should have been celebrating in some way.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
A lot of and of course they don't agree with everything we say. We've said a lot of stuff on.
That's a lot of people that we've talked to, Brandon.
That's crazy.
Pretty awesome.
That's like almost 2 years of podcasting, like every day. That's insane. 500 episodes.
That's really cool, man.
That's awesome. So congratulations. Well, to celebrate our 500th episode, we got a great guest. So, Kristen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. The pressure is on.
So Kristen actually took my invite. We talked to her husband, Kevin, a few weeks back. Mm-hmm. And at the very end, I said, I would love to have your wife come on, and voila, here she is. So I'm so glad you heeded the call and you're here. If you could just give us a little bit of your perspective, what's going on with you, and we'll go from there.
Brandon, just before we do that, just for reference for our listeners, it's episode 497. How much information is too information is the one where her husband was on. So that's what you can cross-reference if you'd like to.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to talk to myself sometimes. I don't know if that's weird. My son said to me the other day, "Mom, are you talking to yourself again?" I was like, yeah. And I think I was prepping mentally to like talk to you guys. And I was like, I don't know how to I said, I want to give a condensed version with appropriate context, because my life is a weird series of unfortunate events, it feels like, but it all connects to what happens in our marriage, because what we've learned is we both come to the table with personal trauma and childhood experiences and expectations that then affect the way we relate together. So, my husband and I have been married. It'll be 15 years this year. We met in college. we were friends first for a while. And to just talk about the relational part of things, the context I'm coming from is I have some like a weird series of traumatic episodes that happened, and I would call them like 3 separate like life-threatening circumstances that happened over the course of my life. One happened when I was a toddler. I accidentally overdosed on medication that my dad was taking, and my parents found me.
Oh, wow.
And forced me to vomit repeatedly. I got taken to the hospital, and because my baby brother was only a couple weeks old, apparently neither of them were able to stay with me at the hospital, and so I was abandoned. And subsequently, years later in therapy, I'm like, I have a true phobia of vomiting, to the point where I focus every day on how do I avoid this from happening. And then of course I have children, and anyway, she's like, I think that could have connected to childhood experience. We should probably go back and EMDR that. But I didn't know. I just kind of assumed I was messed up permanently from my earliest memory on, because of being afraid of something that everyone else was like, get over it. Then in college, I was in a head-on car accident that I stayed conscious for. And I was driving to work at a summer camp, and it was one of those circumstances where so much trauma happened to my body. They thought they might have to amputate my leg, or my foot rather. And that was like a different kind of life-threatening circumstance. And then 2 years later, I was walking to a Greek class at my very small Christian college at 9 a.m. and was followed and robbed at gunpoint by someone who held me hostage.
Whoa.
And told me he was probably going to kill me. And it was very odd. I have to explain this for context, because I have a messed up series of traumas that create series of triggers for me that have nothing to do with my marriage. But then we add marriage into that. And so I am a cocktail of triggers and trauma that makes just normal relating to other people very difficult for me. And then so much more so in a marriage where there is addiction and betrayal trauma, because the core belief that comes along with me through all these traumas is you are always going to be alone, and no one's going to be able to help you or comfort you through these traumatic experiences. And also I just am extremely triggered by fear as an emotion. And I think it's because all of these separate events, I was alone, and I was afraid, and I was not given comfort. I was not given explanation, and I had to figure it out by myself with no help. So then I have this relationship with Kevin. We were friends at college. He visited me at the hospital when I was in the car accident. We, we were friends. It's sort of like an interesting story. It feels kind of like it would be a great saga for some bizarre twisted romance novel if it turned out well. That like, he is not my type at all. Like, he was not my type, but the moment we met, it was one of those, I joke, it was like one of those, like the lights came down and I was like, this person's really important, but I don't know why yet. And it felt like the world kind of shifted a little bit. And we were friends, and I was the responsible, I'm an oldest child. I'm an oldest of 4. Responsible oldest child. I'm getting 2 majors. I'm a 4.0 student. I go back to my dorm room and I do my 3 hours of homework per credit hour, because that's who I am. And my husband's the youngest of 4, and he's like, boo, that's boring. Come out and play. And I was really drawn to that, because I'm very responsible and very serious. And so that opposites attract thing. So I actually became very interested in him, and he was not interested in me. But at one point along the way, he sort of looked at me and was like, I think we could date. And I was excited. I was all for it. And within about 1 day of having that conversation, he wouldn't talk to me, look at me, communicate to me. And I was like, oh, this isn't kind of what I thought would happen after like, hey, I think. And we dated for a short time. We broke up. After we broke up as when I was robbed at gunpoint. And something about that circumstance, I think, changed his perspective on me, because I think me and all of our friends, because we're all friends together, it was kind of a hard thing for all of us to navigate, because it kind of felt scary for everyone. And I think he kind of started seeing like, I could have lost you, and maybe that was a wrong idea. So we started dating again, and we dated for several months, but it was very unhealthy. And we've since learned attachment theory, and I'm a classic anxious attachment and he's a classic avoidant. And so we played cat and mouse a lot, and it was very dysfunctional. And then finally one day, he sat me down. I remember where we were. We were side by side in the car, parked in front of his apartment. And he's like, I have to tell you something. He was like, okay. And he kind of went in to share his story. He was explaining porn addiction. He was explaining childhood trauma. He was explaining a lot of the shame associated with that. And for the first time in our entire knowing each other, I finally felt, aha, everything makes sense. I totally understand what's going on. I understand why this would happen. And I actually told him last week, I was like, I think that was the first time I really saw you, like all of you. And I remember stepping away from that conversation thinking, because he sort of said in that conversation, like, I would understand if you don't want to continue a relationship with me. I think, am I delayed in here? Sorry.
No, you're good.
You're good.
Okay. I think on my end it's delayed. And I sort of was like, I need to think about this, because at this point we're young adults. We're looking toward, like, if we're dating, are we going to get married? And I'm a prolific journaler. So I have records of, like, my processing of, like, what I was going through. And I kind of walked away saying, like, he's my best friend and I really like him. And yeah, this means life is going to be messy, but, like, I'm cool with it. Like, I'm cool to see what God will do with this. And so I kind of came back and I told him, I was like, I, like, accept this. Like, I accept the relationship. This doesn't scare me about you. I think it's confusing. We're gonna have to figure it out, but let's try. And within a month we were engaged. And, I think Kevin mentioned in his podcast, we kind of had this assumption marriage was going to fix things, and it didn't, you know? And so it's interesting though, because I think the discoveries and the addiction and all that came up really early in our relationship. And it occurred to me yesterday that I have never really been in relationship with my husband without betrayal trauma being a part of it. Because I was aware the whole time. And so that insecurity and that kind of anxiousness and lack of safety has always been a part of our marriage. And I don't know any different. I don't like it. And I started having panic attacks as a young married woman. And I went to I don't recommend this. I think it's fine for some people. But I went to a counseling group and I couldn't afford the good counselors. So I did the counselors in training and I got some unhelpful advice. And, it wasn't until 2019, I was having panic attacks. My parents referred me and helped pay for me to see a therapist. She was doing intake with me. And I was like, I'm here because I have a phobia. I have 2 children at this time. I'm struggling to function. I have a lot of trauma in my history. And she's like, okay, well, let's talk through those things. Let's talk about your marriage. I was like, well, this is the story of my relationship and this is what's going on. And, like, as it would be, she was a CSAT. And I didn't know that at the time or what it meant. I just was there because I was like, I'm not coping with life. And she sort of said, you are traumatized by your marriage. And I said, no. Like, don't you understand? I have these things that have traumatized me. And I'm not so concerned about the marriage part. And she sort of was like, no, Kristen, like, you are, like, she said, all these other things you have, like, essentially post-traumatic stress because it was over. But she's like, your marriage, you're walking into every day traumatized because the trigger never goes away for you. And that was when I started realizing, like, I had responsibility in the relationship. I kind of just lived in the lie that when he gets better, I'll get better. And so there was a lot of managing that happened in there. There was a lot of me trying to control. There was a lot of me calling people for him or trying to push him into accountability. Me being his covenantized partner, which I never, ever recommend,
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I'm grateful because over the last 6 years, I've learned a lot and I've changed a lot. And I think Kevin's changed too, but it's been so messy and so painful. And it's just been, like, the word that comes to mind is excruciating. Like, trying to navigate this. And we have 4 children. We co-own a business together. Like, there's so many layers that make our situation unique and very difficult because I would just say, like, we're pretty enmeshed, like, not like in a, like, way that we intended to be, but because of circumstances that played out. And so for us to both heal individually are their own momentous tasks. but the thought of healing our relationship feels even more momentous to some degree. And so one of the things he said in the interview with you guys, which of course my inner critical self was like, he said something about like, she went to counseling and realized that she couldn't heal if I couldn't heal. And I wanted to like raise my hand and say, that's not true. I know I can heal without you, but I know our marriage can't heal if you're unwilling to heal. And I think that's the part that I've been struggling with is I'm putting in a lot of work to try to understand myself and what I need. But I would like to be married to my husband. Whether he is able to show up and do the work has been the scary part. Because it's his choice, not mine. I can't force him to do it. That was a really long intro.
That was awesome. That was great.
It's so cool that you came on because especially having talked to him in a different episode, my head is already starting to put puzzle pieces like on the table together now. I'm going like, oh, I wonder if I'm sure with the work you guys have done, you've probably put some of those pieces together, but let's just for a second, just number one, thank you for coming on. Number two, like just, it's interesting that his topic was, am I disclosing too much? Basically, am I just re-traumatizing her over and over and over again? And yet when we look at the bigger, broader picture, I'm also wondering now with what you just shared, that if the core beliefs are, you will always be alone and no one can ever comfort you. I wonder if the conversations that you've had together have been the non-vulnerable ways of trying to get the answer to, are you here for me? And can you comfort me? But they've been talked about in terms of more of like what you talked about, where let's hurry and get you into therapy, or, hey, you report to me every single day, because then that's going to make me feel safe. And I'm going to know that like you're, but really deep down inside, it's maybe more of that deeper, are you there for me? And are you willing to like put some skin in the game to be with me instead of somewhere else? Right.
Yeah, I agree. And it's so important for him to share his point of view, because I know that's something he struggles with. And so like, it's so funny because when he told me that he was doing this interview with you guys, literally I had two opposing reactions at the same time. And the one was like, I articulated this way. I know that he has kind of like an addict brain and then his authentic self. And I think I have a traumatized brain and then my authentic self. And so our wounded parts don't play nice together. So like the part of me that's like, hey, you're my friend and I'm so excited for you. Like my authentic self, the one I want to be, is like, I think this is great that you're going on a podcast and like, you're so brave and I'm so impressed by you. And then the traumatized part of me is like, you're going to say something that makes me sound like a controlling freak. And you're going to go in public and you're going to talk about our relationship. And also you're going to, the other part of me is like, how can you talk to strangers and not talk to me about this? Like, it's so complicated. It's so messy.
Yeah. But you just said it, you hear that, like that old story of nobody is there for me. You can go talk to strangers, but you can't talk to me. There's like the follow-up, therefore blank. That means what? That means I am not worth connecting to, or I am going to be abandoned, or I'm still alone. I'm still on the island. That's the story. That's the inside part of the story that goes along with, hey, I'm going on this podcast, plus the vulnerability of like, well, what are you going to say? Like anybody's going to have that vulnerability. Right.
Yeah.
I want to ask, I want to sort something out just a little bit, because it seems like there's been kind of a back and forth of like, it's a chicken or the egg thing. Is the marriage the issue, or is the marriage the symptom, right? What do you think, Kristen? Because it sounds like you've heard some things from your therapist about it. You've kind of, I really like the way you started your introduction of like, hey, just so you guys know, there's been this trauma in my past, which is very helpful to know. So is the marriage the issue? Is the marriage the symptom?
That's a good question. I mean, our marriage is dysfunctional. We, in many ways, know the right things to do, but struggle to actually execute them. We're very well educated, and Kevin didn't even say this, but he actually has his master's degree in Christian counseling. So he's not a fool when it comes to this sort of stuff. Like, we've had language to talk about this for a really long time. But knowing what to do and having the capacity and the courage to do it are such separate things. And I think the marriage has highlighted our own issues. And so I think it might be, the answer is yes to both. Like, I would like for our marriage to recover. And our marriage highlights so much of our own individual dysfunction. I don't know if that answers your question.
I want to, Kristen, I want to kind of push on something a little bit. Because I remember him talking about, like, you guys have plenty of education. You guys have plenty of, but toward the end of his episode, I said to him, I think you need to blow it all up. And I wonder if that information that you have is the right information. And if that information that you have is, and those systems are actually working. If you're beating your heads against a wall, trying to figure this out by doing the things that you're told, but it's just not getting you where you want to get to. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think some things have been helpful. Some things have been hard. And so I'll just be honest, like, I struggle sometimes because a lot of times I'm wondering, like, what's my part to own in this, like, in this dynamic? Because I understand that so my therapist told me one time while we were sitting down talking, she's like, you might have a sex addiction. And I was like, great. What does that mean? And she's like, cause you use sex in an unhealthy way. And so, like, to try to get connection that's not there. She's like, it's kind of your own way to try to feel intimacy that's not working for you. And so there's, like, a lot of parts that, like, I've been able to apply and really reflect on. I think what's hard, and there's a part of me that just wants to always blame Kevin for not showing up. And I think that's the part that's difficult for me is, he, he's my husband. So I'm, like, trying to be, like, thoughtful about how I say this, and he's his own person. But what our personal history has shown is that he really struggles to put action behind intention, and struggles to show up emotionally, struggles to be consistent. And so I'm not sure, because in my mind, I'm willing to do the systems and I'm willing to do the things. And I was in support of him going to an intensive, and these things that I hear are really beneficial, 12-step, all of these things we've tried, right? So I say we, meaning me saying, hey, have you considered this, right? And I know the dynamic that's hard is he needs to do this himself. And if he's just constantly taking on these recovery projects because I am asking for that, then it's not going to work. And I do agree. That's the part to blow up, right? Is his perspective of doing this for me. I'm not sure then what I'm supposed to do, because I still need to feel safe in some regard. And I don't feel safe with a person who the way I feel about it is, like, you're giving me almost nothing. I'm expecting what I think is fairly little of you. Like, have a conversation with me a couple times a week and tell me how you're doing. And that seems too hard. So I get a little resentful.
Do you remember the breakfast part of the episode?
Oh yeah.
And he, like, slowly says, like, well, I'd eat the breakfast.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me, what I was picking up on is, and I know he'll listen to this, and hopefully he's, like, really examining this. Like, you want to feel safe, you're saying, Kristen, right? Well, there's a key ingredient to trust and safety in a relationship, and that's honesty. That's and when we say honesty, it's not honesty in the, like, oh, I did all these things and I'm going to tell you about it and I'm going to show you that it's authenticity. It's, like, honesty on a level of, I'm going to show you who I am. Like, this is who I really am.
Yeah.
And so like the breakfast thing, the example, or even the check-in, like the part we were talking about check-ins. And I think Tyler said like, that's not leading to safety for her or something.
Mhm.
Like he's terrified of you.
Yeah, but I don't know why.
Okay.
I don't understand that part.
Right.
That's right.
So the marriage, by the way, the marriage can either be a source of like re-traumatizing, or the marriage can be the biggest asset that you guys can have to move forward. It can be one or the other. But if you don't shift the systems a little bit, right now, I believe, just to be straight with you, I believe that the marriage is more of a source of shame and pain and trauma than it is an asset. And I think having met you now, Kristen, and having met him, I think you can shift this, and together you can actually really help each other. But if we take breakfast, or if we take check-ins, or whatever it may be, right? The dynamic there is some pretty intense codependency. He's like, I am who Kristen says that I am. I'm gonna try to be that, right? I want to fit into that mold, and
because I want to support her, and because I want her to know that I care, and because
I want to be a good
I want her
boy.
to be happy with me. But he's doing it selfishly to make sure you don't want to reject him, even though he's saying he wants to give you all the things you just said in your core beliefs. So I want someone who can comfort me. And he's like, I'm doing everything I can to comfort her.
And he's not comforting you.
But he's actually reenacting his own trauma at the same time that he's complicit in your reenactment of your trauma. And you guys' marriage is reenactment of the same traumas over and over again.
Yep. So here's the hard thing. And this is where you guys can be of awesome like support and asset, and do some work together. Is in that moment when you ask him a question or whatever, and he gives an answer that is authentic, that he thinks is going to trigger you and like cause just all kinds of fear. Those are the moments. These are the important moments of trust building. Why would that build trust with you if he actually was honest with you, even if you didn't like it?
Well, I think the thing that's been so hard is when there is withheld information. Like I don't know what's real, and that's kind of what I've said to him. A lot of times, is like, if I'm the kind of person that, like, if I have to go get blood drawn, I want to watch the needle go in. I want to know who's doing it. I want to know, because I need to like emotionally prepare for the pain, right? So like, even if it's seconds earlier. So for me, if he's able to be honest and tell me, then for me, that's much less scary than me wandering around knowing, do I have all the information? Is this reality, or is this just a song and dance to keep me happy? I don't want to invest in something that is like,
It's
I
not
don't
sincere.
pour myself into a basket and just be like dropped on the floor,
But the like, why is he not able to, why is it so hard to be honest with you? He mentioned this on his episode.
You know what? And we had like a hard conversation last night, and I think like, and I'm trying to understand this too, because anytime I express any sort of pain or frustration or concern, and I've learned the tools, the Gottman method, the gentle invitation, all that stuff, like, Kev, like, this is hard for me, but like anytime he hears any sort of negative anything, he shuts down. He just boom. And it's like the shame just, and so we had like a real life, not connected to like sobriety, conflict yesterday, where two of our little boys are asthmatic and they're both really sick, and had to take one to the urgent care, and Kevin was away all weekend, and I'm feeling burned out, right? Because I've been caring for the kids so he could have his time, and he came home from his weekend away, and I was like, how was your time? What did you learn? Trying to be what I consider like, I'm like genuinely interested, and I want to be a good partner, and I want to hear about your experience. And so he's sharing with me in an authentic way. And then he's like, that's great. I'm going to go read a book now. And I'm like, wait, where does the reciprocity come in? Like, do I get to be asked how I'm doing? And so that's the codependent part that I need to work on, is I'm not good at asserting my needs, because I don't even know I think up until a few years ago, I didn't know I was allowed to have needs. So like, I'm that perfect overachieving people person that people pleaser that everyone loves, because I just never disappoint anybody.
Mhm.
And it's gotten exhausting, and I've been working on not being that person and trying to understand why I operate as that person. But it tends to be that, like, in my marriage, it's like the place where I want to be like, hey, like, I had a hard weekend and I'd love to talk to you about it, but also, like, can I be pursued a little bit? Like, do I get an invitation to have a conversation? Like, do I get to be so anyway, I was bringing up how I was feeling, and immediately, I mean, he even said, he's like, he just got ashamed immediately. And then it turned into this, well, I showed up in this way and you didn't notice that. And it turned into an argument. And I was like, this is not helpful. And so I can recognize that now and say, like, this conversation's not going anywhere. And it tends to be that, like, his shame response is so immediate and so strong. It's so hard for him to hold space to hear me be in pain or to be frustrated or anything. And so the problem is then, so I kind of am met with two options, because I've heard too that, like, for recovery, I need to be able to be honest and authentic.
Mm-hmm.
So if I choose to withhold information and I choose to try to not say anything that's going to trigger him, then I build resentment. So I try to be really proactive and saying, like, this is what's hard for me. The problem is, either way, I lose because I'm not able to be authentic. And so there's no connection. Or when I try to be authentic, which is my way of, I think, trying to find repair or, like, find closeness, and he shuts down and disassociates from me, I'm still by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I struggle. And again, I'm not trying to say, Kevin, this is your problem, and if you would just do the things that you were told to do, use the tools. But that's the part of me that gets hurt, is like, how many times do I have to replay this reality where I'm over here just trying to, like, I don't even feel like this sounds, I want to be accurate in what I'm saying. Like, I'm actually don't feel like I'm a super hyper controlling person. Maybe he would disagree with me. I don't know. But there's something to me, like, it's almost like his shame response is bigger than just me. It's something else that comes into play, but I can't access him when he gets to that point. It's like he disappears. I say it's like the lights go out and he just goes away. And so I don't know how to get him back.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
You
just painted that picture really well for probably a lot of other people who are listening right now. And this comes back to that idea of the reenactment of the trauma in our marriage is what we're doing right now and the way we're approaching it. And this is where Brandon's saying blow it all up, is he's not saying blow up your marriage. He's saying blow up the systems that are currently in play that are keeping the reenactments going, and replace them with maybe something else. And in your situation, you just painted this really beautifully. Here I am with these things that you said earlier. You'll always be alone, and no one can comfort you. You are on your own. Now, here I am in this relationship with somebody who, by nature of what they've done to cope with life, has pulled away. So all they ever do is pull away. And then when you do interact with each other, all you get is this unstable, like, performance, because he's in his own space of not wanting to get rejected for whatever his ideas are and traumas are. And then he comes and he's honest with you in his own mind, which is a massive, massive step in his mind. And you're like, you should be doing this all along. But then you hear what he has to say and you're like, ooh, I don't like that. That sucks. And he's like, no, never mind. Like, I'll eat the breakfast. Like, like, I love scrambled eggs, sriracha on them, like, whatever. You're like, but you're a liar, dude. Like, so you're over here going, I'd rather have you be honest, even though it's hard for me. And when it's hard for me, it's not just that you're responsible to, like, never have feelings or never share your feelings. It's on both people in the marriage you guys are in right now to pause. It's actually an act of courage followed by a deep breath to breathe in the courage again to then take the next step. So he finally comes and is clean with you about something that he, like, really thinks, and you're like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And he's like, okay, but I'm here. And then you're going to go, that hurts really bad to hear that. And thank you so much for being honest with me. Right. Or maybe he pauses and goes, you ask him a question. He goes, okay, the act of courage is to give her the truth and give her a chance to practice holding this, because I've never really given her a chance to hold it.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we could change the way that the pattern happens with just an act of courage and a deep breath pause without having to stop being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
There can be the both and, right? There is, hey, this really, really hurts me. Like I'm really upset that you didn't attune to the fact that I need some time myself, and going and reading a book is going to be something that doesn't sit well with me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I'm so glad you had a great weekend, and I'm so glad you're learning how to take care of yourself and manage your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we bridge that gap now?
Right.
We still have to have that conversation. Or he shrinks away and disappears,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to say, I don't need you to shrink away and disappear. I need you to offer some presence.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do that now? And if not, when do we want to touch base again?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because now I'm inviting a new change. Like I'm seeing where both of our kind of shame is at.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But here's the deal. Like this song and dance, what you're describing, Tyler, this song and dance will continue. It will continue and continue and continue until something is addressed. And Kristen, you found him for a reason, and he found you for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And but there's a missing piece for him and for you to have the fortitude to do what it takes to create that space of intimacy in your relationship. There's a missing piece, and it's pretty clear. You've done a great job at articulating it. He talked about his trauma of rejection when he was a child. You've talked about your trauma of fear and abandonment. And so you guys just keep like creating that with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, and I'm not invalidating any of the feelings that you have around your trauma, Kristen, but they've left you with a story, and they've left you with a perspective, with a reality for your soul and for your ego's just protecting against that reality. And that's what's going on with him too, with you. You're just kind of this figure of like this person that is gonna just reject him. And so he creates you rejecting him again and again and again. And so when you come along like, hey, I need to voice up and tell you like, I would like some connection. He doesn't take that as, oh, Kristen wants love. How does he take that? I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
I'm getting rejected.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't actually address that inner child that's
Mm-hmm.
scared to death on both of your parts,
Mm-hmm.
if we don't address it, then you'll continue to have these interactions that are showing that it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're probably thinking like, Brandon, I've done therapy. You said I should EMDR that away. Like I should, right? Like I've done it. Like what? And I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Kristen. What are you thinking as I'm saying this?
No, I agree. I think the part that's hard for me to sort of sort through is, my safety is in intellectualizing things. Like I don't mind thinking them through. I really don't like feeling things. Like I really don't like feeling things. And I know that. I avoid particularly feelings of fear. I don't have a problem feeling angry. I think angry is like my safe negative feeling, which ends up being destructive. And so I struggle with that. But like I've said before, like, it's so funny because people are like, wow, you're so vulnerable. I'm like, I could tell you anything about my story. I can tell you anything about my life and not be embarrassed. But if I am crying in front of you, it's excruciating. Like I am not, because I think the moment of being like actually feeling in my body the actual vulnerability of all of those circumstances is so terrifying. And it's so out of control. And so I don't really get emotional with Kevin because he's not a safe person in my mind to be vulnerable with. So like, and the inner child stuff's really interesting because like Kevin came back from an intensive and shared a lot about doing inner child work. And he was like, oh, it's so great. And I was like, wait, you like your inner child? And he's like, oh yeah, I love my inner child. And I was like, really? Because I think about my inner child and I'm disgusted. Like, like I have a lot of disgust for my young self. And so I'm working on that with my therapist now. And she really wants me to be like, why is it that you have so much like, so she called it, why do you hate yourself so much? Which is confusing for me because I look at myself now and I say, well, I'm accomplished and I'm intelligent and I'm kind. I'm a good mother. I'm a good wife. I don't feel guilty or embarrassed about how I choose to live my life. I like who I am today. But if I look back at inner child me, that dislike for that person is what has put me on a trajectory to like who I am now. So why do I have to go back and like that person? I thought, you know, like it's almost like backwards in my mind. So I'm really, really struggling to have compassion for the inner child. And I think I can say like, theoretically, it's probably connected to just sort of like internalized negative beliefs about myself because of how my childhood was. But I struggle with that. So like, I understand like the parts of me that tend to be more codependent stem out of that inner child. And so I know I need to deal with her, but even me saying I have to deal with her is probably flagging, you know, therapists everywhere like, oh no, like you
Kristen,
don't deal with your inner child, you embrace them and nurture them, and I don't know how to do that.
Kristen, can we back up like
Yeah.
90 seconds from now? Because you basically just did the exact same thing you were talking about right here on our show.
Great. I
Where
displayed the
where there
dysfunction.
was, well, yeah, I think I wonder, and I want to try to connect some dots for you to see if it's true.
Okay.
What did come up? What was that wetness in your eyes and the shake in
Yeah.
your voice, and what was going on inside your body?
People leave me when I'm sad.
There it is. There it is. Oh, I just got the chills, Kristen. Like I see you. I hear you.
Yeah.
And so there you are. Here you are. This is you right now. Right? But you can't, heaven forbid, you show your husband this part of you.
Well, I think it's because it hasn't gone well in the past.
I want to just like, I want, and we can't do this because we're recording an episode, but I want everyone to just shut up and just be in the moment of the energy of the emotion, because I think
Let's
that's what
do it, Brandon. Let's
that-
take 30 seconds and just be a witness to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay for you to feel, Kristen.
I think you do everything you can to think your way out, just like you said.
Mhm.
Like this vulnerability is Kevin lovable, Kristen?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, is Kristen lovable?
When I'm performing, absolutely I am. I know exactly how to play lovable.
Yeah, and you're looking over at Kevin saying, "Stop performing, buddy. You're lovable. Like hey, I just want you. I just want you to be you. Like just be you." And he's like, "Well, what should I do? What should?" And then you're like, in your own way, you're like, "Yeah, but like I'm performing this way." And the truth is I mentioned to Kevin about your kids, about him loving them, and all of us, you know, with our shadows, with our blemishes, our imperfections, like are we actually lovable? Is that just like you know, what we're taught and we should say that, or is that true?
Yeah, I think I see it so easily in other people.
Right. It's so your protective parts are there saying protect, protect, protect. And what we just did, we just sat in this like, oh my gosh, vulnerability. Right. And so the work to be done is to say, how can I unburden those protectors and not be triggered into this fear all the time? And just like, you actually went there pretty well, Kristen, pretty quickly. It's like right there. You can go there. But how can I unburden those protective parts and realize that this trauma that I've had in my past is not going to run the show anymore for me? That when Kevin or a family member or whomever does something that would have triggered me big time in the past, I'm good. Like I'm okay. And I can step into my power and my authenticity in this moment instead of fixing it, instead of being the solid one, the oldest sister, the oldest daughter, like all of the things that you've been told that you are. So I really am curious about like you've done a lot of therapy. Have you done a lot of experiential? Have you done a lot of like stepping into those moments, the 20 to 30 seconds that we just had? And you might be like, holy cow, like that's the exact opposite one. I want to go
sucks.
I want to go talk to my therapist every week and just talk about the problems and talk about everything. Talk, head. Heart and soul need to heal. Right. Like I'm curious about that for you, Kristen.
Me too. Yeah.
Do you have the courage to do what it takes to actually step into some of those things and change your perspective completely, so that when Kevin does something, you're like, I can handle that. It's not right.
Yeah, I think another part of this is I've heard a lot of people that go through, well, I should say this just for any, betrayed partner or whatever that's out there. Like the thought of being in a group made my entire insides turn like rancid. Like my therapist was like, you really should be in a support group. And I was like, why would I want to talk to women? I don't get along with women. This doesn't sound good to me. Why would we want to share stories like this? And she like, and it's so funny now that I think about it, she played to what she knew of me. She's like, well, the research shows that women who are in support groups heal faster. And I was like, okay, then I guess I have to do this. But like, I've since like really, like that's probably the hardest step in my recovery, has been being a part of a support group, because I think there are times like where I see other women who are so quick to be able to just like find support elsewhere. And I get a little stuck there because I don't. So I guess that part of me that like doesn't feel lovable in general, I also feel probably applies to my relationships with just others in general. So I struggle to find, and this is the part was hard for me to come to, but I feel like I've only looked to Kevin to be the person that like helps me feel seen and accepted, which is terrible when you're married to someone with a sex addiction, because then it's basically like, well, you will never ever get that. So I think part of it is like but guess the role I play in the support group is, hey, there's a really great article on this. There's a great therapy.
I got it all figured out.
Talk about this, right? And everyone thinks I'm really great and wise and smart, which I think is true to a degree, but it's probably me just being really afraid. So do I have the courage? I don't know that I've thought about it.
Yeah.
I have like courage to do what other people think is brave, but isn't necessarily brave for me.
Yeah, that's an honest answer. Yeah. There's a quote that one of our good friends shared with us this week, and it says, the answer that you seek is in the silence you're avoiding. Yeah. So, and you've actually identified that's very similar to my favorite quote, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. You've identified like cave after cave in this episode. And you've said it yourself of like, here's what I'm terrified of. I want you to go back and listen. And you're a journaler, take your pen out and just be like, oh, there you go. Like I identified that one. And those are like, maybe you need to go to your support group and shut up and cry more. Right.
honestly, that is the treatment plan. After just a couple of minutes of talking with you, would be as make a list of all the things you said I'm afraid of or you're uncomfortable with, and those are the very places to go start stepping into, with more than just the learning mind, with an experiencing mind,
Okay.
with a heart and soul approach as much as the mental part. I do want to share these things. That we got a couple comments that came through on YouTube while we were talking. It says, "Thanks for coming on the show. There's lots of work to do, but I'm super impressed by the amount of work you've already done and with the sincerity with which you discuss things." Another one said, "Thank you for your story and being vulnerable. It's good to see the other side of the story and see how interactions work and how our actions impact our partners." So thank you.
My pleasure.
Kristen, I don't feel like we've solved all the world's problems today.
No.
I'm really grateful you came on and we're so open and just honest about you and what you've been through. There is a way to heal your marriage, but it is through healing yourselves first. And there's still a lot of fear behind the scenes going on. The trauma is running the show. And so what I would say is, whether you're doing therapy or whatever, we need to put down the like learning about it and like getting more information and actually go do the healing work deep down, and for both of you. And I'm sure, I'm not saying that you haven't done any of that. I know he went to his intensive and things like that. I'm sure you guys have done some of that, but there's more to go. And then you'll come to your marriage and you'll be like, whoa, it's so different. Like we show up as different human beings now. So would love to have you at Radiant Dawn, Kristen. I'm just saying,
what is that?
We got a retreat in a month and a half.
February 26th through March 1st. It's in southern Utah.
It's a women's experiential retreat where we feel a lot and we connect.
She's like, I'm out. I'm out.
We connect to nature. We just like
other women,
rediscover yourself beyond the trauma. So it's amazing, and we'd love to have you there. So, all right. Any last things that you want to say, Kristen?
Just thanks for what you guys do.
You're welcome.
One thing I say a lot is I don't learn anything from people who have it all together because they don't live my reality. So I always love to hear from people that are willing to go in the messy places, because that's where I don't trust the phonies. You guys aren't phonies.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, Kristen. Well, you as much as hopefully getting some help today, we're also part of being a teacher as yourself because of that very principle. So thank you. And thank you to those of you who are participating online. Thanks to those who are listening. Hopefully this is valuable to you. If you find it valuable, there's some simple ways to kind of show support for Kristen. The best way is to either make a comment on wherever you're consuming this or write a review for the show and mention her. And again, we love you. And until next time, keep on keeping on. All right, Kristen.